For years, it felt hard to show up as myself. What are people gonna say? Or will they judge you? And being a woman, you know, a lot of times you're supposed to just stand there and be pretty and, you know, not necessarily be outspoken, or some things you say may rub people the wrong way because it's not socially accepted. For years, it was like, okay, I have to stand here and be pretty, as my grandma said, just stand there and like perfect posture. And now I'm at a point in my life, I'm like, this is who I am. You either like me, you don't. Having high energy, being positive, being optimistic. People think they're optimistic, but I feel like we live in such a, you know, pessimistic society, and people always like, oh, woe is me, and all this stuff is wrong, and there's the pandemic and the endemic, and we're back in the pandemic, and da-da-da. And it's like, think about what can we control? Like, focusing on what we can control has been huge for me, like really, really impactful. And I hope that, like I said, that other people do kind of pick that energy up and then implement it into their own lives so they can start reaching like their own levels of success, whatever that means for them.
Welcome back to Since 3000. I'm Danielle Leslie. We are going to be diving into our past, present, and future selves. I'm so excited to be here today with my Aquarian sister, Dominique Broadway. She is amazing. She's the founder of Finances Demystified. She has been running this brand and this company for years. She's helped thousands, hundreds of thousands probably at this point, maybe millions, probably millions of people reset their mindset around finances, see what's possible for themselves. You're going to hear us go deep. We're not just going to talk about finances. We're going to talk about the underlying beliefs that lead to our decisions around finances, decisions around relationships, and everything in between. You're gonna love her. Her spirit emanates. That's the reason I brought her here on the couch to share with me today. And I'm so excited that you get to listen in on a conversation with one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. So Dominique, welcome to Since 3000.
Thank you so much. That was a heck of an intro.
Hey.
I'm feeling pumped up now.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to bring you today's episode, but before we do, I need to make sure you've heard about Member Up. So community-driven products are the future, but Facebook groups are a thing of the past. And after 10 plus years in the online education space, I've taken all my learnings and I've built this incredible platform, Member Up. It's a customizable, easy to use, all-in-one platform where you can build a premium course, community, or membership site without the tech headache. Gone are the days of having to duct tape together your content, your community, your payments, all on different platforms. I want you to do me a favor, do yourself a favor, and head over right now to memberup.com/Danielle. And you can get started for free today. I promise you, I can't wait for you to see this platform. It's beautiful. Okay, the design is amazing. Your community is going to feel at home here, and you are going to take pride in your online business. It is the place to start. Head over to memberup.com/Danielle. Now let's get into the episode.
So I'm so excited to have you on because you are my Aquarian sister. Okay, and I feel
With our
like
matching tattoos.
Exactly. Okay, so we have matching tattoos. So we were celebrating Dominique's birthday, and we were in Costa Rica. And it was like the second to last night, the last night.
It was the last night.
Mm-hmm. Can I share what we did on the first night? Okay, so we did like a bachelorette party, which was like after you had already been married. Yes, but it was like so on time, and we did a bachelorette party. And I was like, you know, we should all be naked in the pool. So there was a beautiful fire pit. You guys rented an amazing home right on the water. It was so beautiful. And then we're like, we should be naked in the pool. Yeah. And so slowly but surely, everybody ended up that way. And then I remember we were like huddled in like the far corner.
Because it was the warmest part of the water.
That's right, because it was cold. Like it was supposed to be warm,
It was so
but
cold,
it wasn't.
and it was
and
not
we
a
were
heated pool.
We were just like, okay.
Yeah, it was this one section to the far right that was warm.
Yes.
So we're all like in a huddle, naked.
Yes.
In the corner.
We were
talking
like,
deep
this is
stuff.
Amazing. Deep
solving
stuff.
all the world's problems.
Exactly.
For sure. Yes.
As we should be. But that's like the energy you give off. Whenever I'm around you, I feel like I could just show up as I am, be me. And I feel like you bring that energy into every room. Honestly, to me, you embody one of my identities I channel when I'm like, okay, what is it like to be in this moment and know that I am the cause? It's not a cause and effect. It's not if I do this, then this will happen. It's just, I am just the cause and the effect. And I think about J-Lo when she wore her Versace dress on the red carpet.
Yes.
And I don't know if you know this because I learned this afterwards, but that was the moment that invented Google Images.
Really?
So many people were Googling and trying to figure out her dress that Google's like, we need a product so people can actually see the images of it, because the text results are not delivering what we need. It's not giving. So they invented Google Images on account of her. So when I think of being the effect, like the cause and the effect, she's like, I'm gonna embody this whole dress. I'm gonna own this whole room. And the impact was she caused the biggest entity in the world where we search for everything to invent a new product.
But I wonder if they credited her for that. Probably
Who
not.
knows? Yeah, well, we're doing it right now. But honestly, when I think of you, I think of that.
Oh, thank you.
Like, I really think of Dominique as this force where you show up and you influence the energy in the room, you bring everyone's energy up, and you have this ability to make people you're with know they can do anything because we can.
Yes.
Because you've already owned that for yourself.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I receive all of it. And that means a lot. That means a lot. Because I know a lot of times, even for years, it felt hard to show up as myself. You know, because you're like, what are people going to say? Or will they judge you? Or, you know, sometimes, you know, as Aquarians, we can be, you know, we do what we want when we want.
Yes.
That's not always well received. And being a woman, you know, a lot of times you're supposed to just stand there and be pretty and, you know, not necessarily be outspoken, or some things you say may, you know, rub people the wrong way because it's not socially accepted, you know, things like that. And so a lot of times I'm just like, you know, for years it was like, okay, I have to stand here and be pretty, as my grandma said, just stand there and like perfect posture. And now I'm at a point in my life, I'm like, this is who I am. You either like me, you don't. But everyone usually likes me. So.
Yes!
Typically.
We do.
But, you know, just having high energy, being positive, being optimistic. People think they're optimistic, but I feel like we live in such a, you know, pessimistic society, and people always say, oh, woe is me, and all this stuff is wrong, and there's the pandemic and the endemic, and we're back in the pandemic, and da-da-da. And it's like, think about what can we control? Like, focusing on what we can control has been huge for me. Like, really, really impactful. And I hope that, like I said, that other people do kind of pick that energy up and then implement it into their own lives, so they can start reaching like their own levels of success, whatever that means for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. What I love is I can ask you questions about how you've taken that mindset and built an incredible business. And I can ask you the questions about how you've used that mindset to build an incredible life and lifestyle. We got to go back to the tattoos though, and then I'm going to revisit all those questions because we didn't finish that thought. When we were in Costa Rica, that was our first night. We did your bachelorette party, which was so fun. After we got out of the pool, then we sat in our blankets around the fire pit. And it was such a beautiful moment. I have a great video of that moment.
Yes.
And I just got to feel the love that you bring, the surroundings. It felt so good. Yeah. And then on our last day, we were out by the beach and we did a little excursion. And it occurred to us that we could all get tattoos. It was like, what if we got matching tattoos?
It was
and then
so random.
I think I like randomly said it. Like, you know how sometimes you just throw shit out there as an Aquarius, you're like, you know, what if? And then I was like, let me see what happens. And then everyone's like, okay.
And then that's also the power of having people in your circle. So my sister's like, hold on, let me text the concierge to see if we can get a tattoo artist. And I'm like, okay, so this is happening. And then she's like, okay, guys, the tattoo artist will be there in about 2 hours. And we're like, oh, we're doing. You're like, we're doing.
I was like,
this.
I was just saying. I was like, this is something I would, but I was upstairs getting ready, and then they're like, they're ready for you. I was like, who? The tattoo artist. What? I go downstairs. There's 2 beds laid out by the pools where we had just done your party. And I was like, okay, I'm laying down. I'm like, where do you want it? And I was like, fuck, I don't know. And I was like, under the boob? And then I remember I asked you, I was like, is this okay?
Yeah.
And then I didn't even look in a mirror. And
Remember, I
got it
took a
right
little
here.
picture. I said, well, we take a picture.
Yes.
We had asked me to take a picture. He was like, I don't want it to like too much on the. So I took a picture, and I'm like, you're like, oh, this is perfect. And it was happening. And we're getting tattoos.
Yes.
In the middle.
And yours is, so I love that yours is right there.
Yeah.
And I have one that says, tell the truth in
And
the same
I
spot.
texted my grandma, and I love my grandma's handwriting, and I said, write this. So she sends it back, and the first time me and my sister are like, no, grandma, do your good handwriting. This didn't work.
This is a permanent thing. Like, we didn't tell you.
Yeah,
but.
so she writes it, and this is now it's in her handwriting, and so it's also beautiful. Just having a little bit of her on me forever as well. So it meant a lot, you know.
The fact that it's in your grandmother's writing, and then I get home, and I'm right there in my kitchen with my mom and my sister, and I said, all right, guys, I'm going to share something with you. I got a tattoo, and it says Pura Vida, and I was like, I was in Costa Rica, and I'm like, I was feeling regret around it, and I'm like, I should have got the under boob so you can't see it, but you can always see it now, and you've seen my left boob a few times now, and my mom was like, oh my God, what part of Costa Rica were you in? And I was like, I don't remember. And she's like, well, you know, Nana grew up in Costa Rica. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, you texted me and I was like, oh my God, it's even more beautiful now.
Right?
And
I'm like, that's in your grandmother's writing. And this is from my grandmother's homeland. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, now we're really connected. Yeah. And that told me, don't doubt yourself. There is a reason. You may know in a week or a month or never know the true reason, but there was a reason for why you got that and why it was the right decision for you in that moment. Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. So I guess so when I look at, I'm going to start with family and then we're going to move to business because that is something, I remember us having a conversation about what you saw your life as and what you saw relationships as. And I so resonated with that because growing up, I wasn't the girl who dreamed of my wedding day. I didn't dream of getting married. I didn't dream of having kids. In fact, I remember on a trip in Chicago and my mom told me and my sister, and she's like, I don't see you girls as moms. And I was like, okay, right? But I love, because my mom's like, nobody takes things personal. I mean, I'm just saying what I'm seeing. And I took it, I was like, okay, that's interesting. And so I remember when you shared your vision early on for like what you saw that you were going to create, and it was different from what you've created. Do you remember what that vision was that you shared with me?
Yeah, it's interesting. The vision, it wasn't clear. Which was always a little hard. I knew I would be in this space. I knew I would be in this line of work as this personal finance person. What it looked like was always very blurry. I would say from a business side. From a family side, I always knew I wanted kids, but I wasn't necessarily 100% sold on the kids. And then I kind of wanted to be married, but I wasn't sure. You know, I really just wanted a life partner. So I would say a lot of those things, that the vision I had, it was there, but it was blurry. And I know a lot of times people have visions and they're like, I saw the picket fence and the fence was white and I had a boy and I had a girl and I had a husband and he was tall and I never saw it that clear. It was like I had this vision, but it was a blurry vision. If that makes sense. And so that's kind of where it was. So even now where I am, I stop all the time and I'm just like, this is crazy. Like there's 2 whole children. There's this husband. Like it's weird, you know? But I think that I know that this is where I was headed in a way. I maybe even probably fought it for some time.
What do you mean by that?
Because I don't like commitment. I do not like commitment.
And what does that mean to you? What does that mean when you say that?
Commitment is scary. Like I didn't even like signing gym memberships. They be like, it's a 12-month commitment. I'm good. I'm gonna find.
Like, can I do a month by month?
Yeah, I'm like, is there a month by month option? No. Okay, well, I'm gonna find a gym that's month by month because I don't know what I'm gonna be feeling a year from now. Like I just don't. I don't want that commitment. And so that was, always funny. But like, I don't like. And I've gotten a lot of therapy about this. I don't like feeling locked into things. I do not like feeling locked into things. When I feel like I'm locked into something, I feel like I can't get out. And I like options. And so having a husband felt too permanent. Having children felt too permanent, right? You have children, yes, you raise them until they're 18 or whatever, maybe older, depending on, you know, how their lives work out. But you're a mom forever. Like, I'm going to forever be a mom, right? I may not forever be a wife. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But that's something that can vary. But the mom thing, I'm going to forever be a mom. And so any of those things that potentially would last forever scared me. I would run away. You know, I've had guys over the years say, you know, I would love to marry you. And I'm like, you better not propose to me. Do not propose to me, because you're going to get embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not here for forever. I like you now. I mean, I like you in 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? But, and then sometimes the thought of, like I said, just having something forever is like, ooh, it's scary. Even tattoos, I'm like, oh, I mean, this is forever. Forever is long. I can't count. I'm a numbers person. You can't count forever, right? Ooh. You can't count it. And so any of those things that I can't count or I don't see an end in sight freaks me out.
Oh my gosh. So I love this so much. When you said, I imagine myself with a life partner, and that's how I think about the person I will be with, and even my evolution of what a relationship looks like. And I've talked to you about that and how that's evolved. And so now when I think about life partner, I'm like, that's interesting. Life partner is the same initials, LP, limited partner, that you have in a company.
Yes.
And I know that I'm always going to be the business owner, have a company, be a company. So when I think of an LP, it's much more of a life partner. It's also that limited partner in my business. And when I look at you and Dion, bro, like y'all to me have redefined what a partnership looks like. And I remember, so I want to tell you what I see, which is beautiful. Have you read The Way of the Superior Man?
I have actually.
Okay.
I have actually, yes.
So when
it's been a while though, but I have read it.
I know. I read it like over a decade ago, and I recently reread it. And when I read it, I thought about you two. And I thought about how the masculine energy, it is here to be stable, it is predictable, it creates a safe container for the feminine to be free and liberated and thrive. There is this safe foundation. And when I look at you and Dion, like that's the dynamic I see. I see a man who builds worlds around you. So you can be free to be in your feminine and create. And I remember one example, I think you were, you had this thought of like, well, what if we take it public? And then the next day he set up a call with a consultant about doing an IPO and taking your company public.
And I'm like, whoa.
Right? Because I got to be careful what I say.
It was just a thought. I'm like, look, that's like, with these tattoos. I'm like, you got to be careful what you say.
But I'm like, yo, to have a man who's like, I'm not going to diminish you. I'm not going to quiet you. I'm not going to make you small so I can feel big. He said, oh, bet, I'm gonna build a world around that. And I know that you were already an established brand. Finances Demystified was already educating so many people. You had already been on all the shows, all the things. And then he comes in and he says, he was a multiplier. Exactly.
Yeah, multiply. And I think that's important, right? When you're trying to find that life partner. But I think also too, it's like, not everyone, when you're thinking about those relationships too, I think sometimes we have various life partners. I think we have various and not necessarily in a romantic way, but when you kind of think about that limited partnership, right? I even think about some of the other people that have been in my lives that I may have dated romantically or not, and how even the impact that they had that got me to where I am, right? And then even I would say with Dion too, one of the things that he did for me when we first started dating was, like you're saying, that multiplier, right? So everything I was thinking, like, I want to do this. He's like, okay, cool, but 10x it, that's Grant Cardone's thing. 10x it, 20x it. So if I'm like, hey, I want to do $1 million, no, you're gonna do 20. And I'm just like, but I was just gonna do no, you're gonna do 20. And but then putting the things in place to make that happen. And I totally appreciate and respect that about him, because for me, he helped me to see myself bigger than what I was. So I will say when I met him, I was doing good. I was making, I was all right. I was making $250,000 a year. I was good. I was single, by myself, make decent little money. That's good money.
Oh yeah.
But then when he came around, he was just like, this is great, but you could be doing more. I had gotten to a place in my life where I was just comfortable. I was making, like I said, decent. I wasn't making millions a year, but I was making usually $250,000, maybe $300,000 a year. But I was a solopreneur. It was just me, maybe a couple different contractors. So my bills were very low. You know, I could live the way I wanted. But he's like, no, this could be way bigger, right? And I will say a lot of the reason, not all, but a lot of the reason why I am where I am was because of him seeing me in a different light than I saw myself, right? And so sometimes I sit back and I'm just like, wow, I saw myself as this person, but I didn't see myself as this person enough to believe that I could make it happen. So I never really believed. I'm a confident person. I knew I was going to be successful, but I think deep down, there was a small part of me that felt like it wasn't going to happen. Like, and then when I was like, you know, going to therapy and think about it, it was a lot of reasons why, right? I'm like, well, I don't come from the wealthiest family. You know, even we were talking earlier just about like, you know, growing up in our era being put down for being dark skinned. You know, I've had so many situations where even when I worked in the financial services industry, being looked down upon, people thinking I was the secretary, although I was the financial advisor. I've had speaking engagements where I walked into the room and white men walked out when they saw that I was the speaker. You know, and so in the back of you have these situations happen, and yes, you push through and, you know, whatever, but they still stick with you.
Like Maya Angelou said, I think it's like the way you kill someone is not just slicing them in half, but it's taking a little bit of them, a little over time.
A little, and I realized that is what had been happening. Like I was very confident, but as I was going through my career, little things would happen. And I would come into a speaking engagement fully ready to deliver. And then 5 people will walk out. 5 white men will walk out because they see I'm the speaker. And it took a little piece away from me. You know, oh, you're so pretty for a dark-skinned girl. It took a little piece away from me. Oh, wow. How can you afford to live here? It took a little piece away from me. You know, stuff that people wouldn't say to other people. And so I realized over the years, I was like getting, you know, beat up. Right? And then I got to the point where I was starting to settle. I was like, you know, I'm fine doing what I'm doing, making a few $100,000 a year. This is good. It's stress-free. And thank God he came and he was like, nah, this is just the beginning for you. And so I will always credit him for, he's definitely a visionary. I'm a visionary too, but he's definitely a visionary for seeing things in me that I could not see. Right? And then even helping to kind of put those things in place so I could just run, you know. And it was I don't want to say it's easy, but it was easier because I had already put so much work in, you know. But I was not leveraging what I'd already done to go to the next level. So I think, you know, a lot of times we're looking for, you know, our partners, our life partners. They may not be the life partner. Sometimes they may just be the partner for right now. But embrace those people, because I do feel like God puts certain people in our lives for certain seasons, right, to help us get to certain points, and maybe it's a limited partner, right? Sometimes that's the one thing I would ask you too. Like sometimes I know, you know, as business owners, we are hardcore entrepreneurs. Okay, we are entrepreneurs all day. We're CEOs, but sometimes we do treat our relationships as businesses. Right? And we run our lives as business. And that may not be bad, right? What is, actually, this is your podcast. But how do you feel like maybe people in your life have received that when you want to treat it as a business partnership? Because for some people that will rub them the wrong way. What has been your experience?
Okay. What I heard in that is, and this is related to my response to that question, when I think about the people I put myself in proximity with, whether it is romantic, friendship, business, it falls into like 4 types of people. And one is like a builder. And I think about my mom. I think about my previous relationship. And those people were there in that, well, my mom's gonna be here forever, but that particular partner was there in that season to help me build, which means when I, like, let's say a few years ago, I didn't actually have an idea of how to make myself happy, how to be motivated, how to establish like those habits. So I think builders, as the people who help show me what it takes to establish a healthy set of habits.
Yeah.
And then another type of person that comes up is a prophet, which is what I heard when you were talking about Dion.
Yeah. And
to me, the prophets in my life are the people who already see me as the future me and they regard me as such.
Yes.
They already are interacting with Dominique as the sage, wise Dominique, who's 60 years old. She's already made the billions, the trillions, and they're already embracing you and regarding you in that fashion. Yeah. So I think for me, it's more about what season am I in? What do I need in that season? So there was a season when the builder was so important for me. And that translated across friendships, across everything. And in that same season, I also had the prophets. So I think when I think about like romantic relationships, how it relates to business, I mean, let's be honest, the whole dating process, that's lead gen, that is sales. Like if I think about when I'm hiring a team member or when I'm closing a dream client, like my partner is a dream client. My partner is that dream sale. And so what is the first thing I do when I'm looking to hire my A+ talent or to land the dream client? The first thing I do is I do either a role scorecard or a job rec or my Dream 100 list, my Dream 100 companies that I would love to connect with. I make a list of that. For the role scorecard, I very clearly define in my own language, I envision, I imagine in an ideal world, what does this person look like? How do they relate to me? How do they make me feel every day? So that's the same exercise we do in dating, or what I did in dating. And then the next step is, okay, lead gen. Like, where do we go to find this person? Are they hanging out at a conference, right? If you go to a conference in your industry, that's usually where you find the forward thinkers. They might be a speaker there. If that fits your role scorecard, they might also be a visionary, futurist. Those are often the people on stage. They can probably carry a room. They can probably articulate their thoughts. They're probably a leader, an educator, a teacher. If personality, energy is important to you, they may be that person with the natural energy. That's why they're on stage. So a conference might be one of those places where you find your leads for your partner, if those are the properties you're looking for in a partner. And then there's the, the whole like nurture cycle, the dating, and that's when you get to know it. And I think what I learned in business that now has been so crucial to my personal relationships, friendships, and romantic relationships, and team relationships is a level of self-awareness. So in building this business, I've learned that the therapy every Monday at 9 a.m., the spiritual advisor sessions, the business manager sessions, who's also a spiritual guy, like all these things have enabled me to have a feedback loop that is no longer a year, but it's a day. Like I'm able to sit in the observer seat and say, oh my God, I made that decision because of this. Oh, okay, what does that link to? And then my feedback is quicker. And then I can tell that person, whether it's a team member, and I can say, you know what, the way I showed up yesterday, this is why I showed up that way, and I apologize. And here's how I want to close that gap and be better. And I can now do that in my personal romantic relationships.
And it's important even to, in the spaces we are in, to have those teams or support, people that are around you that can continue to uplift you, right? Because in the roles we're in, we're constantly pouring into others, right? We're constantly pouring into others. And so sometimes in the day, you're just like, oh, you're spent, and I'm a mom as well. So then it's like, at the end of the day, I remember when I was single, I could just go and like be quiet and read a book. At the end of the day for me, and now it's like Dawson didn't even dim me. He's like, mommy. And I'm like, oh my God. And so you get drained, right? You get drained. So it's also very important, like you're saying, to have those other people that you're surrounding yourself by that can constantly pour into you and remind you sometimes of your vision. Because I think sometimes when you get so like caught up in the day-to-day of making the vision happen, you sometimes forget the vision. Because you're like working on the the day-to-day stuff. So also having that life partner or just other people in your life that can be like, no, this is what you're doing. This is the grand vision. Remember the vision. I know you're focused on this one task, but we got to keep our eye on the prize. And I know for me that has been really, really beneficial, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Danielle Leslie, and I have a question for you. If you are a creative entrepreneur and your business is unique, why are you working with a generic accountant? One of the best decisions I made was who I would partner with on my taxes and my accounting. So if you're a creative entrepreneur, you are growing your business, you're scaling your business, I want to introduce you to Revel. Revel is a firm that can help you whether you're looking to prepare your taxes or you're looking for that year-round support. They will tell you what's happening in your business and why. So if you're tired of being ignored, talked down to, or feeling like you are chasing around your accountant and needing to drive the relationship yourself, it's time for a change. Head over to revelcpa.com, revelcpa.com. Head on over, fill out their interest form, and make sure you look into working with them. Again, that is revelcpa.com, revelcpa.com. We all deserve the right firm to partner with. It's been proven that procrastination can be one of our biggest enemies to success. Now, contrary to belief, procrastination is not based on a lack of time management or organizational skills. Procrastination is directly linked to our emotions. Now, the reason I know this is because of Patty Johnston. Patty Johnston is incredible. She's a Course from Scratch member, but even more importantly, she's built multiple multi-million-dollar businesses once she learned how to overcome procrastination. So she's created a program where she shares her system on how to overcome procrastination, and it's based on emotional intelligence, neuroscience, and accountability. She's gonna show you step-by-step how to overcome negative feelings so you can start taking action and start seeing a difference from day one. So text this number right now to schedule an appointment with Patty and her team to see if this is right for you and what steps for you to take to overcome your procrastination. 813-789-1097. And again, the number to text right now is 813-789-1097. Let's all overcome procrastination together. Now let's get back to the episode.
I think one thing I love about you is one of my favorite quotes: the best way to predict the future is to create it. Mm-hmm. And I remember you shared, and I want to know, so I'm going to share what I heard from you in your personal life, and then I want to hear a moment where you did this with your business. Mm-hmm. Because last year you had a phenomenal year. Was it 8 million?
8.7.
8.7 million. The year before was how much?
800,000.
800,000 to 8.7 million?
Yeah.
So before I ask you how that happened, one thing I know, right? The way we do one thing is the way we do everything. Mm-hmm. So for you, I remember you were right here in the living room in our CEO circle, and we had our CEO retreat, and we had, I think we were sitting on the couch, and you shared something that was so dope. I think I was about to do my egg freezing, and I was a little nervous about it because I'm like, I'm gonna be, this is what they say, you're gonna be hormonal, you're gonna be all over the place, you're gonna be crying, it's gonna be wild, you're gonna have to be at home. And you said something that really stuck with me, and it actually helped me dictate how my egg retrieval process went. And you said, when I was pregnant, I decided this is how I want it to be. Yeah. How did you describe how you wanted it to be?
Yeah, I wanted it to just be like almost euphoric and almost like a celebration of me bringing in life. And it was funny because when I found out I was pregnant, you know, Dion and I just went all in on like watching all these like videos. And I never forget our friend Dawn Dixon was like, you gotta watch this one movie with like a documentary with Ricky Lake, and she's, you know, sharing about how she, you know, did this natural childbirth. And I'm like, okay, maybe I need to do natural childbirth. And she like, you know, it was this lady in the documentary. She's like, I think she's in Brooklyn actually. She's walking down the hall, and she's like, oh my God, the baby's coming. And she like squats like in the corner of her hallway, and the baby pops out. And I'm like, what the hell did we just watch, right? And then I was watching the show called The Midwife. It's it's on Netflix, and it's like a show, I think it's based on another time period, like I guess maybe the 50s or something, and it's like in London or England, and these women are, you know, giving birth, and they're like screaming, ah! And I was just like, oh my goodness. So I saw all these like crazy situations of how childbirth can go, and I was freaking out, okay? And I'm like, you know, we have a smaller frame, and I'm like, I don't have no childbearing hips.
Right.
How is this big baby gonna come out? What's about to go down? Yes. And I never forget one day, I just realized, I'm like, look, because I mean, first of all, Dion was like, you need to stop watching all this stuff. You're freaking yourself out. And I was like, you know what? I am. And I was like, that's not how my delivery is gonna go. I was like, it's going to be smooth. It's going to be happy. It's going to be joyful. And when I went into labor with Dawson, that's literally what it was. I was surrounded by family and friends. I did opt for the epidural. Okay, I ain't gonna lie. You don't get no extra points for having natural childbirth. Shout out to all the women that did, but I realized I wasn't getting no extra. It wasn't for me. Yeah, I knew I wasn't getting no extra points in heaven for that. So I took the epidural, and it was just joyful. I was literally laughing the entire time I was giving birth, and I felt like I made the decision for it to be that way. You know? And, you know, we like to be in control. And I was like, I'm going to take control of this situation. Like, I'm going to have a nice childbirth. I ain't going to rip. I ain't going to, you know, and boop, baby's going to pop out. We're going to be Gucci. It's going to be good. And it went down like that. And I realized that was one situation, but I realized in life, I'm going to control it, right? But we kind of talk about like focusing on what we can control. There's a lot in our lives that we can control. There's a lot in our lives that we can control. There's a lot that we can't. But what we can't do is focus on what we can't control, right? I couldn't control if it was super painful or if if there was issues that I couldn't control that. But what I could do is focus on what I could control. In that situation, I was going to control the room. Who was in the room? Who was going to uplift me in the room? I was going to control if I wanted pain or not. I opted for no pain. I was going to control, am I going to be frantic or I'm going to be calm? Maybe I want to have soothing music. I like to laugh and joke. My doctor said they had never been to a funnier labor in their entire life.
Wow.
She's like, I've delivered so many babies. She was like, this is the first labor. I literally laughed the whole time. Wow. Literally. But that was just what I wanted to create. So I took that like, I'm going to do this through my whole life. Like, this is how I'm going to run life. And so a lot of times people are like, Dominique, how are you always so just calm? And like, the other day, there's been a lot just personal things going on. People be like, how do you do it? Like, you have so much shit going on right now, but you're so like calm and like just still just full of grace. And I was like, because I'm focusing on what I can control. It's very easy for us to focus on all the things that we can't control and let it just wreck our day and our years. But there's so much good stuff going on that I can't control. So I'm going to focus on that. Right? And if I focus on that, the other things may or may not pan out, but at least I don't have to look back and say, oh my gosh, the last 5 months have been horrible. No, I can't say that. Yes, there's things that have been happening, but there's a lot of things that have been great. And I'm going to focus on those. And that for me has been like, when I say a game changer in how I manage my life, how I wake up every morning, how I don't let negativity destroy my day. We've all had days. I'm sure you've been there where you wake up on the right side of the bed, the sun is shining perfectly and everything is great. And then one person calls and just destroys your whole day. Or one thought. And we can't give others or anything else that much control. We can't. Because it destroys our creativity, any potential any potential of success for that day. I've seen people let other things destroy their year. We don't have a lot of years. We don't have a lot of years. It may seem like it, we don't. I remember someone said, what are you going to do? I'm 37 now. What are you going to do with your last, 50 summers? I was like,
whoa, when you reduce it like that,
I was like, well,
that's not a lot of summers. We ain't got that much. We need to be outside.
I know. It's like, literally,
on the patio
you think about
right
it.
now.
I was like, wait, you think I only got like 50 summers left?
Whoa.
Because the summers are short.
Right?
What,
3 months? We're talking 3 months?
It depends on where you live, right? Miami, you get a little bit longer summer.
Well, you gotta talk
But I'm saying in New York, y'all even get even less. So I was like, oh my gosh. I've been in relationships where I let people destroy my year. Literally. But now I'm grown and I'm like, baby.
Nope.
Ain't nobody destroying my year, or especially not my summer. Because I only got a little bit. So I'm like, let's try to regain control of our years and our summers so that we can look back on our lives and be like, I was in control. Things may not have went as planned, but I focused on what I can control, and now I am where I want to be because of that. Because we have a lot of control over where we go in life. People don't realize that. We have a lot of control. I know people right now, they're in like really crappy situations. And a lot of it, I would say 98% of it is because of actions or decisions that they made. I am where I am right now because of decisions that I made. I'm in a great place right now.
We're all where we are
We
because
all
of decisions
we made. Right?
Wow.
these are typically things we can control, that we can control, right? And so those shifts, mindset shifts, have been major for me. And that's why I'm like, if other people can realize that,
Yes.
it will be more of us. It will be more of us in rooms that typically aren't filled with rooms that look like us.
That is so good.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing from you is a value that is really close to me, which is agency. Like remembering that we have agency, we have ownership of every decision, every thought. And I think that everything you described right now has helped you create this amazing business. And like last year, you said, I'm not going to have a bad year.
Yeah.
And last year was incredible.
Yeah.
So-
but last year was also one of the toughest years of my life.
Oh, that's right.
It was one of the highest revenue years I ever had. I lost a quarter. Remember, I was pregnant. I went into labor 3 weeks early. I got sick with the stomach virus, lost 15 pounds, got COVID, lost another 10 so pounds. I was 119 pounds when I delivered.
Whoa.
My, Dion got sick. He was, basically on his deathbed. And despite all of that, it was still my highest revenue year ever. But for most people, and that happened in Q2, right? Q2. For most people, that would have
would've
killed
taken
their
out.
year. They would have been, oh, I'm done. Throw the whole year away. Try again next year. But when you focus on what you can control and you're still optimistic, I didn't let it stop me. It slowed me down. I lost a quarter. So if I can do 8.7 without a quarter, I got a full year this year, and I ain't pregnant, and I ain't getting pregnant. So let's go, right? Let's go. But that's where I go back to focus. People were like, how in the hell did you do that?
So tell me.
No, because go ahead.
Last
Yeah.
year.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
So what I love is, and it might be that we're Aquarians, it might be, I feel so much like commonality.
Yeah.
And I know that I never put it in the words you said of fear of commitment, but what I have been resistant to is what I call discipline. Anything that was expected of me to do every day.
Oh gosh, I hate that.
And so I remember when I made that shift to, I'm going to keep my word to myself. That was a new frame on discipline. And it was, no, my word is important and my opinion of myself is important. And the way to strengthen my opinion of myself is to keep my word to myself.
That's hard.
And that's how I reframed it. Oh yeah, it was
That's very hard. It's something I've dealt with. I am okay with letting myself down. I was. I was okay with letting myself down.
Which is fine.
But not letting other people down. So imagine, like you said, when we start giving ourselves that same respect.
What could happen?
I will show up for my kids every day, but I may not show up for myself.
So yes.
Interesting.
And I know for me that shift was the weekly webinar. And it was tied to my well-being because in my mind, I'm a performer. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm an artist, I'm a singer, I'm a dancer, I'm Josephine Baker. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here Nicki Minaj with the wigs, with the outfits.
Yes.
So for me, my webinar was my stage. And that's where I would perform every week. And I would show up and I was a method actor. And I'd be like, we about to do this performance for this new audience. Y'all about to get this tasty content. And I would put on every Wednesday. And that was for me a celebration of me keeping my word to myself. But also a celebration of my well-being and my self-expression because I could be all out and do my thing. And it was my stage and my show. And so I want to know for you, because I think you also did your weekly webinar, but what was that
was
shift
the
for
most
you?
consistent I've ever been in my entire life. Literally. Because I'm I do not, I'm good for starting some stuff. And then
Check on me in 2 weeks. We on something different.
you thought you're doing that thing. What?
Oh,
I was
what are you
like,
talking
what?
about? Did I say I was doing that?
Yeah,
I forgot.
Yeah. That's the Aquarian. But this was the most consistent I've ever been in my entire life. And when I hit that kind of year mark, I was like, y'all, somebody celebrate me. Because I had never been,
Right?
I've never been this consistent. I showed up every Sunday at 3 p.m. for a year. Every Sunday. Sometimes twice a week if I was testing out other days. every Sunday. I did I call it my performance too. I call it my Beyonce moment.
I love it.
You know, before every master class, I pray, I ask God to speak through me, and then I go on and I give it all. And when I click that end button, you know,
Right?
done. I don't got nothing else for a couple days, right? But that was the most consistent I ever been. But I was seeing results, and I could tell that I was getting better. I loved seeing the growth in me. It's hard to do those classes. People don't realize it because you're literally just looking at a screen. Ain't nobody, I mean, they're talking to you in the chat. There's no one waving at you. No one being like, oh, yeah, girl, you hitting it. Nothing. It's just you.
It's you, your hype woman in your own mind.
And you're looking at this little teeny dot. Okay, because you got to look at the camera. You look at this little teeny dot for an hour and a half, and you're giving them your all. And you're like, bop, boop, bop, bop, and you do this and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it's hard. And I got better and better and better. And I was just like feeling myself. My confidence was going up. I'm making money. You know what I'm saying? More. And I'm just like, I wanted to do. I was waiting for my weekly class because it was my time to get up there and shine. And then the rest of the week, I might be in sweats the whole week. Nobody.
Right?
You know what I mean? But that was my time for me. And it was, I would say even those weekly masterclasses, webinars just helped me to grow. But it also made me want to be consistent in other things. It was the first thing in my life outside of having my business. I've had my business now for 9 years. So I have been consistent in something, right? I've obviously had finances mystified all this time. But it was like, it was the first time I was really being consistent weekly and seeing the growth. So even now, I'm like, I want to be consistent in more things. You know, like now I work out with a trainer 4 days a week. My trainer told me the other day, she was like, you are my most consistent client.
Whoa. Did you ever think anyone would describe you with the word consistent?
No.
Right?
And
Same.
that for me, like, I was like, I've made it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you like proud of yourself. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Because I've never
defined myself as
Dominique, because Dominique is like, she's a honey. She here
Right.
one day, there the next day. I don't know where she's gonna be.
Exactly.
I know my mom's like, girl, where are you? Oh,
Right.
Mom, I think I'm in somehow in Puerto Rico. What? You said you were going? No, I'm here.
I
changed my
decided
mind.
at the last minute.
Yeah, and that's always been me. And she said it's so funny. She said, you're my most consistent client. And she said, I was telling some of my other clients the other day. She said, listen, Dominique is my most consistent client. She's a whole CEO. And she got 2 kids, but she fits it in every morning at minimum 4 days a week. And I've been doing it for now almost, I get pregnant and may take a little break, you know, when they tell me to stop working out. But for, you know, almost for a year and a half.
Wow.
You know, and I'm not, you know, I'm not serving body. That ain't everybody I've been serving. You know what I'm
you're
saying?
always
You know,
serving body
but you know what I
and
mean?
skin.
But I
Hello.
feel healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I have a different body type. I'm not losing. I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm
Right.
trying to maintain and tone, and that's it. But I want to be the healthiest I can be. And so I feel like even with those master classes, it proved to me that I can be consistent because I didn't even think I could be. I didn't think that was, I was like, I will always use, I'm an Aquarius, I'm a water, you know, we just flow where the river goes.
I think we're
right?
air though.
We're air.
Technically,
Well,
yeah.
technically it's
but
like
I
a
know
water.
Aquarius is water.
Yeah, it's
Well, that's
supposed
why
to-
we're confusing because we actually are confusing.
Yeah, and we're
because we're like
confusing.
water
We're
bears,
air,
but we're
girl,
air
it's all going
signs.
everywhere.
I know.
So it's
yeah.
like,
do you know your rising and your moon?
No, I don't
okay.
know. I know you
We're gonna
probably
look it
know.
up.
Okay,
later.
we'll
okay.
pick that up.
I'm
But
just
I don't know, but it's like I've always been that way. So for me, it meant a lot to me, and I had to prove to myself, and that was another growth thing for me to know that I could do that. And now, like I said, I want to be consistent in more areas of my life. So we were talking earlier about facial, you know, face routines and things like that. Like, you know, I'm good for buying a little serum, using it twice, and like, this ain't working.
Exactly.
You gotta be consistent.
Or the best thing I do is when something is working, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop now.
Yeah. Me
And
too.
then a month later, I'm
Me
like,
too.
wait, why am
did
I
it
feeling
stop?
shitty? Oh, because I stopped the thing that was working.
You're like, oh, it's working. Throw it away. I do that with hair products, right? You find a good hair, this hair product is the bomb. Never buy it again.
Right.
Never buy it again. Now I need to go try the next
On
one.
to the next.
Exactly. And then it gets addictive. And then it gets addictive. Have you ever felt that? Because it's such an adrenaline rush.
I wouldn't describe it as addictive. Yeah. Because when I think of addiction, I think of, well, definitionally, it's like a chemical change in your brain where your body is craving that thing, which is usually a substance because that impacts the chemicals in your brain. So when I think of things like a webinar or even like hookah, it's not the activity, but it is the high you get from the activity. It
Yes.
is how
It's-
you're experiencing yourself after the activity.
Yeah. So for me, it's the high that I get after the
Addicted
activity
to.
of delivering
Yes.
the
And you
webinar,
associate
right?
it with
yes.
the webinar.
So we've done the webinar, but then the thrill is there because people are like, oh my God, this is so amazing. But then I'm hitting my peak when the sales start coming in,
Oh, yeah.
right? And
Stripe.
I love that. That
Yes.
Stripe pay. To
Right.
this day, I still keep my Stripe
Me
notification. on my phone.
too.
I want to see it.
Right.
I love being out, and it's like, oh man, I
Oh,
made
yeah, I just made-
$10,000 since I was
You're
sitting
right.
at this bar.
Yeah.
That's a rush for me, you know. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I am. But when it's not happening, I'm like, yo, where's Stripe? Maybe Stripe disconnected. But sometimes they log you out.
Right. Let me log in again.
Let me log back in.
Exactly.
You know, so it does get a little, for me, I will say it gets a little like, because it gives me such a rush. You know, even I was, you know, on the flight here, checking my end of the month numbers. And I was like, oh, that's good. That's good. That was good. That was good. You know, and so, you know, now too with the business, you know, I'm not as involved with it as I used to be. So sometimes I have to find that rush kind of in other areas. You know, just kind of meeting with the team and getting their excitement makes me excited. You know, how excited they get about the things that we're doing, the new launches we're having, things like that. So you have to find, now it's like looking for ways to expand the brand.
Yeah, so tell me about your role
Yeah.
now, because you
Yeah.
started as solopreneur and you were the personal brand, and then you were business owner, CEO, you're bringing in a team, you're doing the webinars. So now things have evolved a little bit. So tell me about, like, what is your role now? What is your new identity?
Yeah, so now I am truly a CEO. And I say truly a CEO because I think, especially nowadays, the term CEO is kind of just thrown around. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of people that really aren't CEOs, right? When you have a 6-figure monthly payroll and, you know, all these all these people as employees and withholdings and, you know, 401ks and all that stuff, like then you're like really bossing up, right? It's just different. You know, it's so interesting because when I first started my company, I didn't want to be the face of my company. I just wanted to be Finances Mystified. I wanted to be behind the scenes.
Oh, wow.
And one of my former mentors told me, you know, this will take off if you were the face of it. And I was like, I don't want. I'm a private person. I want to be behind the scenes. And then
I would never
did
have
it.
guessed that.
Yeah, girl, I'm very, very prefer to be behind the scenes. And I came out in front of the company, and boom,
Took off.
it took off. But now my role it's interesting because it's very different. You know, just like you, when I first started, I was the salesperson, created the course, delivered the course, did customer support, did all the things. You know, I was IT, HR, everything. And now I'm just the CEO. So now my role is, you know, any high level decisions that can't be made by my executive or leadership team comes to me, right? So that has also been a bit of an issue because I get extreme decision fatigue. I am very indecisive. And this role as CEO has really helped me with that. I'm able to make decisions a lot quicker. So now it's really just okaying a lot of things, making sure the money's good, but then also being able to finally just get back into creating new stuff, you know, new ideas, new courses, new just products. You know, now trying to acquire other businesses is something I'm focusing on so that my business can scale quicker. And then also I have a lot of other ideas of things that I want to do outside of this personal finance realm. I'm able to focus on that. And then I'm also now able to build up the Dominique Broadway brand because I've learned so much now, you know, as a CEO, as a mom, all these different life hacks. I want to share some of that, right? So figuring out the ways to share that so that people can learn faster as well. So my role's definitely shifted. I'm not in the customer support emails anymore, thank God.
Yes.
I know that's one of the things that you told me to get out of too when we first started.
gosh,
You're like, girl, get
yeah.
out of there. And I'm like, I know, but these people are saying mean things. And some people are
And I'm
saying
like,
nice
that's why you
things.
don't need to be
Yeah,
in
no,
there.
get out of there. And it's so funny. It's like most of the emails would be nice and then like one mean thing and it
And
like
it
overshadows all of them.
everything.
And you're like, get out of there. And I'm like, I'm trying. And now I'm not in that. So that's really what it's like now. And you know, now I have like a book deal. I get to do all the things that I've always wanted to do, but still maintain high income and revenue. And that was one of the, like, an issue before was like, I wanted to do all the things. I wanted to do the book. I wanted to do all these things. But if I did that, the revenue would have dropped. And now I'm at a point where I have that team so I can do all the fun things on the side. I can be here with you, and everything's still flowing. So that's why I feel like now I'm a true CEO, right? I can go and do other things and the business can still run. without sacrificing just because I wanted to go to Costa Rica for a month or something like that. So that's really what the role looks like now. I'm a mom, so that's a full-time job in itself, honestly. And I have an amazing nanny, but mommying is still a full thing. So it's really focusing more on the kids and like the things that make me, me happy. Someone asked me the other day, like, oh, what's your hobby? And I was like, I realized I don't really have one, right? And someone told me, they were like, it's okay. Your hobby is actually business. And my mom even told me, she was like, since you were a little girl, you've been playing business. Literally. I was playing business before I even knew probably what business was. I've always loved the idea and the concept of business. My dad found a tape recently that I did for high school. I was launching my own cell phone company. I felt like cell phone prices were too high.
Oh my
and it was called Broadway Wireless. And it was like, your cell phone companies give you 99 reasons not to. And it was like a whole video. It was so funny, but it's like that's always just been my fun thing. I was the kid that was starting businesses on the weekend. That's always been my hobby. So I also had to accept that it's okay. Maybe I'm not musical, I dance a little bit, I'm not gonna be playing no instruments or something like that, but thinking of fun ways to make money or impact people's lives, that's a hobby for me. And I've accepted that for now.
I love that. Yeah. So to be sitting here almost a year exactly from when we were in Miami at the retreat.
Yeah, wow.
And I remember the theme of that retreat was, it started as CEO identity and then it elevated to ownership. And I remember last year, we were talking about, my goal was to acquire a software company.
Yes.
And we were all talking about how we can elevate out of first the spreadsheet of the funnel, then the P&L of the team, the expenses and the profits, and then to elevate into the balance sheet, which holds all our different businesses. So I love the fact that I'm sitting here on the couch with you a year later and full-blown owners, doing all the things, building the DB brand while your team is growing the business because of.
And that's a big shift. And I was thinking, and I hate to harp on the whole slave ownership thing, but as people of color, as Black people, as African Americans, we were always owned, right? We were owned. And so a lot of times our parents, they are also kind of almost used to being owned in a way, right? I haven't met anyone that was a slave, but my grandma, her grandma was a slave, and she told me about it, right? The concept of ownership is something that a lot of times for Black people is unheard of. Right. It's new. It's not something that is allowed for us. So even that's why a lot of times for African Americans, buying a home is a big thing. They own something because we were always owned. And so now, especially, our generation, we're we want to own the things. We want to own the businesses. We want to own the NFTs. We want to own the crypto. We want to be in the ownership seat, right? And then there's more of us owning things, and it's major, but for a lot of people that look like us, it's still a hard concept to wrap their mind around because they still feel like they can't own the things. I've met a lot of people who still feel like, oh no, I'm not gonna, I can't do that. That's not for me. It's not for us. And now I love that, people like you and myself, we're changing that narrative. We can own the things.
And it starts, I think, is the baby step.
Yeah.
Where first we own our story.
Yes.
That's the first thing. We see that as valuable because by owning our story, we can then create a product around it. And then we're able to spread it to the community, but we have full ownership of the company, the product, the profits that are created from that. And then we can turn all the people we're teaching into owners also.
Exactly. And that's powerful. And it's a simple word, ownership, but it's a word that I've mentioned to people and it freaks them out. It's literally when you talk about money, right? I'm sitting here telling you how much I made last year. For some people, it would make their skin crawl. They would be like, oh my gosh, she said how much she made.
Oh yeah, and I've been, that's
literally.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. But it's freeing. And that transparency and that ownership, it needs to be a thing.
I wonder if only because we talked about this concept of agency, which is taking complete ownership and responsibility of your own thoughts, actions, and saying that everything I have in my life, I created. I'm responsible, aka I'm to blame. I don't like to use that language, but like I'm responsible, aka I am the owner of my reality. And I wonder if there's a link there to where if maybe some people, ownership comes with a lot of responsibility. Because that means if things aren't going the way you want, you are the one. You're the one on the line.
Yeah, and that's where even, like I said, that word CEO is such a buzzword. Ooh, I'm a CEO, right? People don't really realize what it takes to be a CEO. And we own all the things. When the payroll has to go out, we own that. If the thing doesn't work, we own that. We're the ones that take the hits. And a lot of times, like you said, people can't, most people can't handle that. They can't handle that. And that's one of the things, like I heard someone say, like, how do you do it? How do you be the mom, be the wife, and be the CEO? You have all these people on your payroll, all these people depend. How do you do it? Some days I'm like, I don't know how I do it. Because some days I wake up and I'm like, it's too much things. Like, it's a lot. But it's a level, I don't know. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I know that every little step I took, every L I took, every W I took, got me to where I am. It has taught me and prepared me for this role. I was scared to be a CEO. Like even last year, I'm like, we need to put somebody else in my place. I don't think I can do it. Managing people is harder than managing the business. Very, right? Like it was, sometimes I'm like, listen, I know we making more money now, but it was way easier when all I had to do was hold myself accountable.
Manage myself.
And now it's like, thank God for my chief of staff and my best friend Diana, because like she can manage them people and she calm, and I'll be like, girl, you better get these people. Because I'm like, listen, I can't. I don't have the, like Helen, she's like, oh, I don't have it. You messing
Helen
with,
got it.
Listen,
She
Helen
got
it, honey.
She got it.
I'm like, you're messing with stuff up. It ain't, okay? But with, more vulgar language. And I just realized I don't have that. Like, I have so much empathy, but I don't like managing people. I also, I grew up as only child. And so I am very good with being by myself, alone, on an island with a book and a hookah and some champagne. Like, I'm good. When I retire and my kids are grown, where's Dominique?
On an island with the hookah,
look at Google
with
app,
the glass.
Google Maps, you're gonna find her on an island with the book, with the hookah and some champagne and some honey Jack Daniels and maybe a little bit of old fashions or whatever, a couple old fashions, whatever. And that's it.
We like it.
Yeah, and so because of that, it makes it harder for me as a CEO because I am so used to just being alone. And now you have all these people there all day. What do you want? What do you think about this? What about this? And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then the kids are like, mommy. And at the end of the day, you're like, I have nothing to give anybody. You're empty. So it's a lot of responsibility. And I tell people all the time, like, people joke about being a CEO, but like, you don't understand what it really is. Make sure that you're prepared and that you even want that role. I do know that I don't want to be CEO for long. I don't. I would prefer to bring somebody else in to run Finances Demystified as a CEO. It's not what I want to do for much longer. I enjoy it, but it's not what I want to do. And I've realized that, I don't want all of that responsibility. I would rather have more responsibility as the owner versus the CEO.
Yeah. I love how you have thought about how it resonates with you and how you show up. And I know that I have renamed the CEO role for myself and how I show up in my natural design, which is CIO. And I'm the Chief Inspiration Officer, the Chief Innovation Officer, and the Chief Investment Officer.
I love that.
That is where I thrive.
That may be my new role.
I think that's where we elevate to.
Yeah,
is when we realize we don't have to fit into this prescribed box of what a chief executive officer was, which frankly was made by people who look nothing like me, who grew up in a generation nothing like mine, who grew up with access to completely different resources than mine, different trainings, different DNA. I have the feminine energy, like all the ancestry I was born with. I was born to be a CIO. I was born to inspire, to innovate, and to evaluate these investments. So I love how you're thinking about, okay, this is for now, but we gonna hire somebody else so I can keep thriving.
That I think would do better at it than me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, to be honest, I think I'm a good CEO. I don't think I'm great. I'm not gonna lie. My staff thinks I'm good. They could be paying. I mean, I'm paying them to say that, I guess, technically. But everyone's like, no, you're doing great. I'm like, yeah, but I could be doing better because I don't really know what I'm doing.
It's not your natural. Exactly.
I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't mind. I'm like, can y'all find me some CEO classes or something? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I be called, girl, what do I do about this? I don't know. But I'm figuring it out. And one of the things I think that my team does like, and I would say, anyone that has a team, is I hire people for what they're good at, and I let them do what they're good at. I don't try to control them. I've been able to attract just really amazing people that way, and they want to stick around because I'm like not bringing them in and saying, okay, this you got to do it A, B, C, D, and if you don't do it that way, get out. I'm like, listen, you do that well, I don't. So you tell me the best way to do it, and I'm gonna rock with you. And they love it because they have the freedom, and they come in and they're just like, I've never worked anywhere that lets me just do what I do. As long as you do what you do, you're doing it well, and it's impacting the bottom line, and we're seeing an impact, go for it. Be creative in your space. Be creative in operations, as creative as you can be in operations. Be creative in marketing. Be creative in your own thing, because that's not what I'm good at. And so that has been really impactful to help manage people for me, because I don't got time to be, micromanaging. That's not my thing. I remember when I first started my company, and I was like, I was scared, anytime you start a company. And then I left my good job, and, I remember telling myself, okay, Dominique, what happens? What if I go broke? What if my house goes into foreclosure? What if I get repossessed? My car gets repossessed. That was my worst case scenario. And then it happened.
Oh, wow.
And that was a pivotal point for me. My house went into foreclosure. My car got repossessed. What? I went dead broke. It happened. My worst case scenario happened. And a lot of people can't say that. Like, literally, my worst case scenario actually happened. And so when it happened and I hit rock bottom, and actually had the article, I'm not sure if it was like in Forbes recently, basically saying how I went broke and built back up. And I felt like a hypocrite, being a financial planner, personal finance expert. I'm not the person that just woke up and started, giving personal finance tips on TikTok. I've been a licensed financial planner. I have the bachelor's and master's, all the degrees. And I felt like such a hypocrite, when I was rebuilding through this. But it put this level of just, I don't give a shit, and I've seen the bottom, and I'm not going back there, so there's only up. So now I don't care. I'm going to do everything. Because all my worst case scenarios happened. Literally, I never get my car got repossessed, and I was like, came downstairs like, where's my car? Knowing damn well I ain't paid the car note in months. Knowing damn well they've been calling me, got sued by my condo association. All the things happened. All the worst case scenarios happened. So that's why I tell people, like, oh my God, what if this happens? What if this happens? And like you just said, well, what if it does? And I'm like, well, it did, girl. It did. And I'm here. And so for now, I'm like, nah. There's not a lot of fear in me anymore. And so that's been powerful for me. When Forbes article came out, I was shitting my pants. I did this interview with her, and I did not know she was gonna frame it that way. And it was like how this financial advisor went from broke to 8.5 million. And I was scared. Being at the gas station and knowing that they're only gonna run it for $1, knowing I only had $3, and knowing I can get a full tank of gas because they're only gonna run it for $1. I've been that broke. I have been that broke. And one of the reasons I was that broke was because I had just a bad mindset. When I hit that point, I was like, I couldn't believe that I was there. Because I bought my first house at 22. I, saved over 50K by the time I was 24. Like, I was always smart. But I started the business, and I was so gung-ho on making it work that I ignored my personal finances while all of my clients were thriving financially because I was giving them such great advice. I wasn't charging enough. I wasn't running my business the way that it should have been ran. And therefore I went broke, and it was hard, and it took years to come out of it, My credit score went to low. I don't even know, 440, 450. It was low, real low, real.
I didn't know it could get to the 400s.
Girl, me neither. I didn't either. I didn't know that was a thing. I think the lowest it can get is 350. And it was like, and I was like, oh my God, it's so low. When I say I hit the bottom broke, I did that and rebuilt from there. And that's when I like tell people, like, you could do anything you put your mind to. Now that would have been a really easy place for me to get in and stay stuck. Because I had lost self-worth. Confidence was shot. I was a financial planner that had no money. Right? But I knew how to do it. I knew how to make it. I knew how to trade. I knew how to invest, but I didn't have any money to trade. I didn't have any money to invest. So when you have skills to do something, but you don't have the money to do it, that hurts even more. Because I had done it before. I had made tons of money, but I didn't have it. And there's a lot of people out here, like, they have jobs. So this is one of the things people don't realize too. Because I used to be a licensed financial planner, I couldn't have any outside business activities. So there's a lot of people like, oh, I had this job and I was trading on the side and I was doing this and blah, 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 blah. I couldn't do those things. In order for me to start my business, I had to quit my job. I couldn't do my business on the side. I never had that luxury. So therefore, I had to go all in if I wanted to make it work. Going all in, about maybe 2 years in, I'm broke.
Wow.
And then I had to rebuild. And I've been doing, like I said, I had my business now for 9 years. I was probably good the first 2, broke the next 3. Took years, yeah. So now that's why people are like, you're not scared. No, I've seen the bottom. I've seen it. I've been there. I rebuilt. And it gave me a new set of skills. Because now I can talk to the person who wants to invest, who wants to trade, but I can also talk to you when your car gets repossessed. Girl, I know how to get that back, okay? And I got it back and got it at a lower price than what I actually owed because I negotiated, so I kind of won, okay? And then I got my house out of foreclosure, got it back, sold it, and still walked away with a little about 80K, okay? And then I owed everybody and their mama credit card wise. Credit was shot, Amex blacklisted me, and now I'm back on the platinum. So I say all this to say, like, there's a lot of financial experts out there, but there's not a lot of them that have honestly done and been through the things I've been through. So people are like, oh, can you come on and talk about? Yeah, what do you mean talk about? I can talk about money mindset. I can talk about budgeting. I can talk about being broke. I can talk about rebuilding my credit. I can talk about trading. I can talk about investing, high level investing, options, futures, all the fun stuff, crypto. But I can also tell you how to get some stuff off your credit report. I can also tell you how to get out of debt. I can also tell you how to get the bill collectors to stop calling. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I faced my fears head on. So it's all faith from here on out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's actually huge because holy shit. I actually didn't know all of that about you. I think that, like, one thing that's coming up for me, like, I've always seen you as super confident, already done the things. And I remember, like, even when you decided to work with me, I was like, why? And I'm curious, like, why did you decide to, like, join CEO Circle?
Because I like to learn from the people who've already done it. I don't want to learn I don't want to take the hard route. It's easy to take the route, right? Anybody could just try to do their stuff on their own. But it's much easier to go to Danielle, who's already done it, has a proven strategy and method. It's simple as that. Because that's going to reduce my learning curve. It's going to get me to the bag quicker. And I'm going to learn her tips and tricks that she had to maybe learn. You actually probably had to learn the hard way.
I did.
Right? But I had to pay you for your expertise so that I can implement it and scale quicker. It's simple as that. Right? So, like, now that I have the financial resources, I'm going to pay for your genius, if you allow me. If you allow me. And you allow me. Because some people are like, oh, we turn down money too, right? We in spaces, thank God, we are at points in our lives. Yeah. But it's like, if you allow me, I would love to learn from you. And sometimes it could just be a couple tips or tricks that turn things to the next level. And that's what people need to realize sometimes too. When you're joining these different programs and trying to learn from people aren't going to come in and just change your whole life. But you have to come into this situation ready to be a student and ready to suck up whatever they're willing to put out and then apply it to you. It could be one trick, one thing you say Even one little thing, you're like, get out of the customer support. What? No, I gotta be in customer. Like, get out of it. It was messing up my mental more than I thought. You know, that's one little thing. Get out of the customer support email. One little thing you said. There's a lot of things you said. But one thing initially, it was just like, she's right. I shouldn't be in there. I shouldn't be in the customer support emails. It's messing up my mental, and I can't perform on Sundays the way I need to because I'm still thinking about Johnny, who said my course was trash because he didn't want to read the books that I recommended. And I think more people need to do that. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to figure it out on my own. You figure it out on your own. I'm going to go ahead and take this shortcut, and I'm going to go learn from her, and I'm going to get to the bag quicker, and I'll be at the island already when you come 5 years later because I learned from her. So I'll save a little piece of the island on the side, but I'm getting the prime spot.
This is perfect. So we're going to tell the future, and we're going to tell it in third person. So who in the future, and you can think far off, 20 years, however you want to be. Who is Dominique in third person? Who is Dominique? What is she doing? What's happening in her life? What we doing? Where am I going with you? What's happening?
Okay, I'm not sure if you want to go here with this, but I really felt like we would be in the whole Jetson situation by now, and we're not. So I'm hoping by year 3000, we are a Jetson situation, and I can be like, hey, Danielle, what are you doing? And you like pull up to my house in your little space car. Ooh. Obviously, my house is a mansion because, you know, I'm rich. And then I have like all these like robot staff in there like waiting on us. And my children are grown. I guess. Are they grown? I don't know. Are they children? I don't know. I guess they're humans. They're not robots. And I own this like mega financial education enterprise that's like 10 minutes in the sky. 10 minutes away in the sky, and it's like huge. It's like really huge, and it's on this like floating piece of like mass.
Oh, a mass.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And then finally, hopefully we can have that whole situation where, you know, you wake up in the morning and the thing puts me in the shower and it does my hair and does my makeup. Like, I hope that we're there by then. I don't know. Is that where you're trying to go with that? I'm not sure.
I like that. I like that. That was the furthest we've ever gone in the segment. Most people, I think, went like 5 years out or 10 years out.
Oh, I thought you meant like...
I mean, no, but I kind of prompted you. I was like, take us wherever you want to go.
Oh, I thought we were going to the future.
You could also go 10 years, 20 years.
Oh. Okay.
Whatever you want.
Okay, not 1,000 years. Gotcha.
You can. You did. Now, if you want to dial it back.
Okay. 5 years. Dialing it up from 3,000 years to 5 years. 5 years from now, I am retired. I'm retired. I am probably living either in Bali or Costa Rica. I have a beautiful, probably 8-bedroom mansion with full staff. I have made substantial amounts of money. I have impacted the lives of millions of people. Millions of people are more financially confident. Millions of people understand agency or ownership. Millions of people that look like me and don't look like me are finally owning who they are and what they want to be. They're controlling their lives. And because we have millions more people who are more financially confident and owning their lives and controlling their lives, the world is a better place. That's where it is. That's where I am.
I love that.
Yeah.
Am I visiting you in one of your 8
course.
bedrooms? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
Okay, awesome.
Or maybe I've
never
visit
been
you.
to Bali.
You
Oh, yeah,
haven't.
you can visit me too.
You
I've
would
never
love,
been to Bali.
You love Bali. I love Bali and Costa Rica are my place. I also love Dubai. No, obviously another thing too, just to add, I will have homes in all these places.
Oh, obviously.
I mean,
What's a
I may
word
have a
to
smaller
describe-
home in Dubai
I
though.
need to know the energy. What is one word that would describe the energy or the character of Bali for you?
Carefree.
What about Costa Rica?
Carefree as well. I would want to change. I would say Costa Rica is carefree. Bali is carefree but connected spiritually. Not connected to the world. Connected spiritually. It's something about, I don't know what it is with Bali. It's just I don't know. They might be a little closer to God over there. I don't know. Something going on over there. But it's a very spiritual place for me. Yeah.
Aw, thank you so much. Thank you for doing the future, the drunken future with me. Thank you so much for being on Since 3000.
Thank you
and
for having
sharing
me.
your truth with me. Really, like any time I get to spend with you, I revel in it.
Likewise.
Like I said, any room you walk into, like you bring the frequency up.
Thank you.
You like are the cause and the effect. I'll always remember the conversation we had at your birthday in Costa Rica. We stayed up to see the sunrise.
Girl. Don't get me started on that. I didn't see it. I missed the sunrise. I'm still mad about that.
It wasn't what it was supposed to be. It rose. And the point
I was
is,
so mad. But go ahead. I know. We stayed up all night.
The point is,
where's the sun?
we had a great conversation.
We did.
And you affirmed me. You helped me expand what's possible, and it's been so amazing to just like have you in my circle. And when I think about like my future kids, I'm like, they're gonna be interning for Dominique and Dion. They're gonna be friends, okay?
Yes.
With Dawson and Demi.
Our kids will
It's gonna
just be
a
friends, and they'll be
tribe.
running our lives, basically.
They're gonna be running their lives in the world.
Yes.
That's what's gonna happen. We're gonna be
Literally.
chilling,
Yeah.
doing our thing. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and I'm very excited for all of this. And you're such a beautiful soul in person, and like I'm really excited that the world gets to see this other side of you that I think a lot of times only us get to see as your friends. You're so just deep and intellectual and like, you know, vibrating at a different level than others, and it's exciting that you're using this, you know, kind of avenue to bring others up to that level with you and expose them to a new level. So thank you for having me and creating this.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I know that I love and adore you.
Thank you.
And I know that anyone who tuned in this episode wants to know more about you. So where can we find you?
Yeah, for sure. So you can always find me on Instagram, right, at Dominique Broadway. That's where we post tons of just like free content, but also Finances Demystified on Instagram as well. Or you can go to financesdemystified.com. But if you go to Dominique Broadway on Instagram, you'll find all of our links. You know, I post tons of stories and content, and we make it worth your time to follow me.
Listen, sometimes life be lifing, and we do not know what's coming down that road next. Well, that's what happened to me in 2016 when I was unexpectedly laid off from my job. And I was 6 figures in student loan debt. I had no savings, and I didn't know what was gonna happen next. Now, luckily, I had this little voice inside of me at that time that I couldn't ignore, and it was telling me to take the leap. It was saying, use this as your opportunity to build your business. Use this as your opportunity to create your dream life. And so I believe that life happens for us, not to us. And that nudge in my spirit, I should listen to it. Luckily, I did. Fast forward to today, I have a business that's made over $20 million, and I've helped over 10,000 people create their online businesses and their dream lives. So do you want to learn how to turn your story into an online product and launch in 30 days? Head on over to coursefromscratch.com/since3000. I want you to join us on this journey so you can listen to that little voice inside of you too. So go now, do yourself a favor, coursefromscratch.com/since3000.